Hey Lakeshore students, today we're going to start getting ready to use our Magical Book of Knowledge. This year in 5th grade, you're going to be completing a Magical Book of Knowledge on topics in science and social studies and sometimes some choice topics. So what we're going to do today is get our Magical Book set up so that you are ready to do some research. The purpose of the Magical Book of Knowledge is to complete research, write research in our own words, and then follow a rubric step by step so that we hit all of the criteria that are used to earn points. Okay, so one of the composition books that you brought in from school is going to be used for your Magical Book of Knowledge. Inside the front cover, you're going to get a rubric. The rubric is going to be used to self-check and make sure that you have all of the components that we're looking for in order to do well on your Magical Book of Knowledge. Your topic is going to be written clearly and everything is listed right here for you as well as the possible points. And you'll see the biggest point values come with facts written in our own words, and that's the main purpose of this. So as we finish this Magical Book of Knowledge, you're going to make sure that this is glued on the inside, and before you hand it into your homeroom teacher, you're going to self-check and make sure you have all of those things included. In the back of your notebook, you're going to have your directions taped down so that you can always reference them in case you get stuck. So here are our directions. Let's go over them. Our Magical Book of Knowledge. You will create a Magical Book of Knowledge notebook from a marble composition book. The pages are going to be glued together, and I'll show you how to do that. And the information entered into the probe will be kept all year long. So first thing we're going to do is glue 2 pages together on the right side and 2 pages on the left side. Gluing those pages together let you draw on marker and different pens without it bleeding through to the next week's project. Then we're going to draw a 1-inch border completely around the open pages in order to form a model or a frame around the whole picture. We're going to write the assigned topic inside of the border on the left side and write the date beside the topic. Sometimes you're even going to get to choose your own topic. Then you're going to decorate the border creatively, and the theme is going to match the topic of your Magical Book of Knowledge. You're going to color all pictures. There should be very little white showing in your border. The idea is to make sure we get nice bright colors. You're going to illustrate the right side of the page with pictures that relate to the topic. You can draw them, print them from the internet at home, or clip out newspapers and magazines. I've even had students use photographs from places that they visited that had to do with the topic. You're going to color all pictures, and again, there should be very little white showing on the illustration page. On the left side, we're going to write and show our research results. A grade is going to be taken for either social studies, science, or reading, depending on the topic that you're researching. The rubric is going to be inside our Magical Book of Knowledge. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to follow the first 3 steps. So the first thing that's very important, and it sounds sort of silly, but it's very important, is we're going to glue together the first 2 pages of each side of our notebook. And this, again, is going to allow you to use those awesome markers and colored pencils and pens, and they don't bleed through to the next page. So I'm just going to take my glue stick, and I'm going to create my border and my X, and I'm going to take the next page and just glue it on down. And that creates a nice thick paper so that those markers don't bleed through to our next week's notes. I'm going to do the same thing on the next 2 pages. I'm going to take the next 2 pages, open it up, put the box around the outside border, so it doesn't fall apart, put an X down the middle to make sure it's nice and solid, and then glue those 2 pages together. Once I've done that, I have 2 very thick pages that I'm going to create my probe on, my Magical Book of Knowledge. The next step is to make a 1-inch border all the way around our Magical Book of Knowledge. So I'm going to take a straight edge, and it just so happens that this margin right there is also 1 inch. So I'm going to use that as a reference point to go all the way around my border. I want to make sure to use a straight edge so that as I'm using that straight edge, my line is nice and neat and straight. Right now I'm going to use a pen so that you can see it, but I'm also going to go over it in color later when I decorate. I'm going to use this top line and then the red line that you can barely see through the other pages to get my 1-inch border all the way around. These 2 pages are going to become 1 page, as this frame is going to go all the way around my notebook. So I'm going to draw my 1-inch border on the top, just to the red line margin, and then I'm going to go down the side of my page, follow that red line until I have 3 lines at the bottom, 1, 2, 3 showing, which will also be equal to 1 inch. I'm going to turn my page, take my straight edge, and I'm going to follow that blue line straight across, all the way across my notebook until I get to the red line on the opposite side of the page. Then I'm going to close my frame. So now I have a border all the way around my notebook to create my frame. This is called the border. Now the next step says to write the topic in the top left-hand side of my border. So on this side, we're going to write our topic. And this week, your topic is a science topic, states of matter. So I'm going to write my topic nice and neat, states of matter, on the top left-hand side of my Magical Book of Knowledge, and then I'm going to make sure to add my date. And I can't tell you how many times in the past we've taken points from our 5th graders just because they forgot to add the date in the top left-hand corner. Now you can add the date that you're starting, or you can also add the date that it's due. I'm going to put the date that I'm starting my assignment, so 8/24. So you've just completed the first 3 steps. We have a border, we put the title in the top left-hand corner, and we've included the date. Please notice that nice straight line. Use a ruler, straight edge, so that you can create that 1-inch border all the way around. I'm going to try to extend this a little bit so you can see my notebook all the way through. Okay, so that's going to be one of my pages. Okay, so now that we have our topic, states of matter, and we've set up our border and our title in our Magical Book of Knowledge, it's time to do some research. So this week, we've given you the paper and the writing that you're going to research from. So you're going to use this page, Why Does Matter Matter? And this is found on your Canvas link. And it's also going to be, we will have a copy for you to add to your science notebook. But when you get writing that's written in scientific language, this was written by somebody else. So we got this from Super Teacher Worksheets, and it was written by Kelly Hashway. So I can't take Miss Hashway's words and put them into my Magical Book of Knowledge as my own because they're her words, and that would be a copyright violation. So as I read this information and I gather information, I'm going to use a highlighter or a pencil and really underline and highlight only the important things and the details that I need to put into my Magic Book of Knowledge. Now I only have 1 composition book page to write all of my information, so I can't gather too much information, but I want to make sure I get enough in order to fill up that page with facts. So as I'm reading each paragraph, I'm going to really make sure I take notes and I mark only the important things. I'm never going to highlight a complete sentence because if I highlight a complete sentence, it'll be really easy for me to go into my Magical Book of Knowledge and just copy that sentence in Miss Hathaway's words. So we're going to read it and just look for the important information. Okay? Why does matter matter? What do trees, air, and water all have in common? They all have matter. That must be an important word because it's also in my title, so we have to talk about matter. So I'm going to highlight the word matter. They all have matter. That means they take up space. Matter takes up space. So that's the definition of matter. So they take up space. You might be wondering why these things look so different if they all have matter. Everything found on Earth can be grouped into one of 3 states of matter: solid, liquid, or gas. So everything on Earth can be grouped into one of 3 states of matter. So there are 3 states of matter: solid, liquid, and gas. In order to figure out which state of matter an object fits in, we have to examine its properties. So properties sounds important. The properties we look at are shape, mass, and volume. Mass is the amount of matter an object has, and volume is the amount of space that matter takes up. So we're going to look at the shape of an object, the mass or how much matter it has, and also the volume, the space it takes up. Okay? So the most important information I've gathered from this very first paragraph is that everything is made up of matter because it takes up space, and matter comes in three states: solid, liquid, and gas. So I'm going to continue to read to find out about these solid, liquids, and gas. And when I glance at this, I can see along the margin I have facts about solid, liquids, and gases. So those are my three states of matter, which will be the focus of my writing. So let's keep reading. Solids are easy to recognize. They have a definite shape, mass, and volume. Okay, so that's important, solids. This whole paragraph is probably going to be about solids since that's my topic sentence. So since it says solids are easy to recognize, the paragraph is going to focus on why it's easy to recognize. They have a definite shape, mass, and volume. Definite means for sure. That is exact. It's not going to change. It's definite. They are made up of tiny particles called atoms. These atoms are packed closely together and they hold the solid in a definite shape that does not change. So if you look at the side here, you'll see the atoms. They're made up of atoms. They're packed closely together, so they hold a definite shape. The shape doesn't change because there's no place for those atoms to move. If you look around your house, you will see lots of solids: televisions, beds, tables, chairs, even the food that you eat. So from this information, I found that solids have a definite shape, mass, and volume. They're made up of atoms that are packed closely together. All of the other words are important for me to read, but when I have to put it in my own words, I'm going to use different words than those. That's why I only chose to highlight these. Now you continue to read and look at the different pages and find the other information that you would like to highlight or underline. If you don't have a highlighter, you can use a pencil for the important information that we are going to put into our own words into our magical book of knowledge. Okay, everybody, so our next job with our magic book of knowledge is to start decorating the outside border and the illustration. So I'm going to show you some probes from students in the past to show you what it should look like as that 1-inch border goes all the way around. Here's some examples of things that have been done in the past, and you'll notice that the border is definitely a different color than the information on the inside. So you can tell the difference between the border, the frame all the way around, the writing, the illustration, and the theme of the border around. So the U.S. Constitution was this one, so you can see she chose the red, white, and blue, and her Constitution, her probe topic is in the top, as well as the date. And as we go around, she chose to do Charlie Higson. She had chosen someone to research biography, and you can see the blue border all the way around, and her theme is musical notes, and he wrote music, so he's got writing and pencils to go with the theme of what she's doing. Now here you see she chose on the internet to print these out, and down at the bottom she's got the websites that she's choosing. You can also illustrate. Here she did Marie Curie, who was a famous scientist, and she's got the theme around the outside, her topic, but this time she chose to draw a beaker for her science experiment. So as you're doing your magical book of knowledge, you sort of get an idea of what it looks like at the end. The border is a different color and has a theme that matches the topic that she's doing. So let's take a look at our magical book of knowledge book and decide, since we're doing our states of matter, raise up my camera here so we can see a little bit better. I'm going to open up to our first page where we glued it together and created our words. And since we're going to be drawing a theme that has to do with our topic, solids, liquids, and gas, it's got to be something to do with atoms and how they're packed together. So I think I'm going to draw some boxes all the way around. And in some of them I'm going to make the atoms packed closely together, and some of them I'm going to make them spread out, and in others I'm going to make them really spread out. So I have solid, liquid, and gas. Then I'm going to follow that pattern and just repeat myself and have my solid atoms, my liquid atoms, and then my gas atoms that are spread thoroughly apart. I'm going to follow that pattern all the way around. You can choose to do something different if you'd like, but this color of your border should be different than the inside. Then my illustration page is going to be the right side of the page, so I have to fill this up with mostly color. If you have a printer at home, you can print out a picture. If you choose to do that, don't forget to write right below it the website that it came from, because we always want to cite our resources. I think I'm going to draw, though. And since there are 3 states of matter, I'm going to draw my illustration page into 3 separate states. And I'm going to put on this side solid, liquid, and gas. And then I'm going to draw a picture for each one of those that shows the different solids, liquids, and gas. So I think for liquid, I may draw a cup with water in it, and I'll color that with water. I might draw the ocean waves and have some liquid ocean water on there. What other liquids do we have? I may draw, because I love my coffee, I might draw a mug and have my coffee inside my mug with some steam coming up, but examples of my solid, liquid, and gas. And I might, just so I get the scientific form in there, with the liquid, the atoms are spread out and they're moving around. So I'll draw a magnifying glass of what the atoms look like. Then my solids, I may draw a baseball, a baseball bat. What else do we know that is solids? As I look around my room, I see a pencil, which is a solid. I may have a desk, or a bookshelf. I don't think that looks into a desk, so I might change that into something else. I know it's going to be an Amazon package, because I like to get those in the mail. So that's my Amazon package. I may have an ice cream cone, all kinds of different solids. And so I have the science as well. I'm going to draw my magnifying glass and put my atoms packed closely together to make that rigid solid. Then I'll do the same for gas, and I'll also color so that there's very little white showing. Once I have my states of matter, my border all the way around in one color, and then my illustration of solid, liquids, and gas, I'll be able to put it together. So here we go. Now we have our illustration, our topic. We've highlighted all the information. Now we need to take our important information and put it into our own words, into our writing. So we're going to start with a paragraph, and our topic paragraph is going to be about what is states of matter. I'm going to get this a little bit closer. Hang on there. Okay. So if you remember our very first paragraph, I highlighted matter takes up space, and that there's 3 states of matter, solid, liquid, and gas, and that we have to look at the properties because those 3 states of matter have different properties. So I'm going to try to turn that into my own words. I'm going to start with an indent. All things on earth are made up of matter. And now, I'm going to extend that sentence because I can combine those sentences that all things are made of matter, but also that they take up space, and that's the definition of matter. So all things on earth are made up of matter because, I'm going to use a connector word there, they take up space. A very important suggestion I'm going to give to you, I'm using pen right now so that it makes it easier for you to see on the video, but if I were doing this in real person, I would be using a pencil, because right there I showed a perfect example how I wanted to change my mind, and I would love to get rid of that period that I just wrote right there because I changed it and added a sentence there, and I can't do that when I use pen. So I'm going to have to go white that out. So I would suggest you use pencil first and then go over it in pen once you have somebody check it for revisions or any kind of spelling mistakes or mistakes that you've made. Then you can go back over it in pen. But I'm using pen right now because it's easier for you to see. So all things on earth are made up of matter because they take up space. Now I need to make sure I say that there are 3 states of matter. There are 3, And I always want to spell out a number if I'm writing. I want to make sure I spell those numbers out. There are 3 states of matter: solid, liquid, and gas. That's a great topic paragraph. That's all I really need because the focus of my writing is going to be on those 3 states of matter. So now I have this much room to add about all 3 of those states of matter. So my next paragraph is going to be all about solids. And if you remember when I was highlighting, I found out solids have a definite shape, mass, and volume, made up of atoms, and they're packed closely together. Solids have a definite shape, volume, and mass. They are made of atoms packed tightly together. So when I'm reading this, if I can take that information and put it into my own words, it's showing me that I really understand the topic that I'm writing about. Is there anything else I need to add about solids? Solids have a definite shape, volume, and mass. So now you continue writing from what you highlighted or underlined and thought it was important for liquids and gases on the back of the paper. Remember to only add the information that's important and don't copy any sentences exactly as they are in the writing. You want to put them into your own words. So go ahead and fill up this page with all of your information.